Hey, what's going on, guys? This is the DFS 5-pack. We got no basketball today, just a one-gamer. So we'll be off on videos for that one. But we got multi-gamers coming up real soon. Just for a few questions we've had. We cover NBA directly when it's 3 games or more. We've just never really done 2-game slates unless it just happens to be, pure boredom or something like that.
Yeah, so we try to stick to that. In rare cases, we'll get into the 2-gamers. Usually if there's like nothing else going on, one sport, and there's only one 2-gamer, that's when we'll do it.
Yeah, exactly. So if you want to have fun, go play drafters. Welcome aboard to Mike Sims, Dave Jones, Jason's a couple of you new guys come playing with us. Shout out to Stephen Casey. Man, I was like tracking my drafter score last night, just a little bit, like looking at some scores. And I had Mancini. And at that point, when I first looked at it, Means was balling and Gosman was awesome. And Altuve homered for me. Martinez homered right away. I'm like, I got this thing on lock. And I come home only to see that Stephen Casey whooped my butt. It wasn't even that close. Got first place. Rosarina, Corey Kluber. You were the boss yesterday. You've won 4-6. So come and get Stephen Casey's money, guys. It's up out there the taking. If you want it, come play on drafters with us.
Yeah, monster score from him. Great score from you also. And that's part of the reason we like to pay out 2 guys. So at least you got your money back plus some.
There is that, although I subscribe to one of the greatest literary scholars of the United States history, Ricky Bobby. You ain't first, you're last.
Exactly. So actually, that applies well for me because I finished last place in my MLB GPP last night, and I didn't feel so bad because, like you just said, if you're not first, you're last.
We've mentioned this a lot of different times, people. And, I've been talking about working out a lot lately. And one of the things that's big for me is setting goals. I don't think your DFS game is any different. Like, know what you're in there for. Like, one of the reasons, well, you're just a more emotional guy than I am to begin with, but like you run on massive swings. I will never get to experience what you went through 2 weeks ago when you won 6 digits. I just won't. I'll never get to know that thrill. The flip side of that is I never know your heartache because you're going to play the ups and the downs a lot more than I am.
You definitely won't know how it feels after last night. So I'm with you. It's not all pizza and cream over here. That's for sure.
No, I'm just kind of walking along flat surface where you're riding the peaks and valleys a whole lot more, guys. So, but know your goals in your DFS game. Like, are you trying to get rich or are you just trying to have a good time? A lot of days, I just want to enjoy the games a little bit more. I can throw a $10 double up in there and I just enjoy trying to beat my competition. But when you win, like, that's not even what we're talking about.
For sure. I'm with you. Like you said, having goals in anything you do is important, and DFS is no different.
All right, guys, subscribe to the station if you're new to it. Thumbs up is appreciated. Let's talk about pitching today. And let's just call a spade a spade. The pitching options today, they're not great. They were not great on the early slate. I like those a little bit more than you do, but they weren't great. They're probably even worse on this night slate. So I'll go to the last point first. You guys do you today. Whatever you like, there's rational cases to be made up and down the board. None of the options are going to love. Slates like this, we love to flip the script on ownership a little bit because the best pitcher ownership-wise and the worst pitcher ownership-wise or second worst or whatever aren't that much different. But as it stands, I think we agree that we're looking at Sandy Alcantara of the Miami Marlins as our favorite pitcher today. He was terrible last time out. What did he give up, 48 runs in the first inning?
Yeah, something like that. Man, he was awful his last time out, but we love pitching, pitchers like this that are in line for a nice bounce back start. And yeah, he got lit up by the Dodgers. Willing to give him a mulligan there. The Dodgers, have a tendency to light up a bunch of guys. We both are fans of Alcantara, and with him coming in, not nearly as high owned as a couple other guys on the slate, just makes me like him that much more.
He's the best pitcher on the slate. You can make arguments for Nick Pivetta too, but I think I like the potential of Sandy Alcantara a little bit more. Pavetta's been around just a little bit longer, but he's the best pitcher on the slate. And he won't be like low owned today. You're not getting him at 5%, but there's a couple other pitchers getting more love today. And I think the thing here is, for me, he's got the highest upside because he's got the best stuff. And while Philadelphia is a decent offense, right? Like they're above average, they're a little banged up right now. Even if their guys play today, they're far from 100%. They're also a very strikeout-heavy team, which increases the upside. DK over-rewards the strikeout, as we've brought up 8 million times and will continue to bring up.
Yeah, exactly. So with that in play, the matchup actually might be better than people realize. So I'm with it.
Yeah. Now, could he get lit up?
Of course.
It's possible. Anything can happen. Every pitcher on the slate could get lit up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk about some offense. So the last couple of days, the cash locks that we have brought up have absolutely gone off. The flip side of that is we've made really good points on why to fade them in GPPs. However, to go right back to it, sometimes chalk goes off. Chalk's chalk for a reason. It's generally decent players in a good spot. There's a reason that they go off some days. And if you're playing to be contrarian, don't run away from that. I think in the beginning, the first couple of weeks of this MLB season, we saw more chalk go off than normal. And then we had a couple of weeks where the chalk wasn't so good. So the chalk went off the last 2 days. It was a good cash game play, but that doesn't mean that you completely abandon those plays in tournaments. I think the same thing goes for Freddie Freeman today. On paper, I think he's your best first base option. If I'm playing a cash game today, he is locked into my first base. If you want to stack Atlanta, probably play him in your GPP stack of Atlanta. But he's going to be really, really high owned today. He's been playing a lot better lately. Even though it hasn't been a great season so far, he still has 12 bombs. He's the right play for cash games. If you want to stack ATL, I get going with him. But there's a lot of reasons you might want to fade him in GPPs today, just purely based on the fact he'll be probably darn near 50% in GPPs even.
Yeah, he's going to be really, really popular. We've seen, especially Atlanta, when they're popular, they get so much love. I can remember slates earlier this year, where chalky Atlanta on a smaller slate come in. I know you know what I'm talking about, like 50, 60% owned. You're going to see that tonight. Atlanta's in the best spot on the slate. They're coming off a nice win where Acuna needs to walk home run. Their best hitters are going to be really high owned. So know that in cash games you play them. In tournaments, if you're stacking them, do your thing. If you're not, I think you got a lot of leverage going elsewhere.
Yeah, because as great as Freddie Freeman is, in 2021, he gets a hit less out of 1 every 4 times, which means that in 4 at-bats, there's every opportunity he goes up there, walks and singles tonight, and that's it. 5 points. It's not good. You could definitely find somebody that beats that. There's a lot of leverage in GPPs because guys don't get, even when Russell Westbrook's not great, he's usually still pretty good. Like a good baseball player can get a 2 or a 0 really easily.
For sure.
All right, next up, let's talk about today's cover boy. Jazz Chisholm, however you want to pronounce it. I think it could work either way, but we know the real name. The chalkiest pitcher on the slate is set to be his counterpart, Vince Velasquez. Well, Vince Velasquez isn't that good. He's got decent stuff, but we've seen him over the last few years falter more often than not. And just because he's been good the last 3 starts doesn't mean he's going to be good tonight. There's a lot of leverage by picking on Velasquez tonight. And yeah, the Marlins aren't great. I understand why Velasquez is uber chalk. But I love a high upside player like Chisholm, who's quietly averaging almost 10 DK points per game this season. He's been hot since coming back from the IL. Not going to get as much love as he should.
This is one we talked about in a members only video. Even with Velasquez, you can use Chisholm. One of the league leaders in stolen bases. He's hit like gangbusters since coming back off the IL. He's a good young hitter. He's got speed. He's got some pop. 5 bombs already. I really like him if you're stacking the Marlins. I really like him as a one-off. I even like him, like I said, with Velasquez. He works everywhere.
Pick a format Matt likes him, and I second that.
Amen.
All right. So speaking of chalk, let's talk about, I'll let you pronounce his name because even though I've asked you 30 times, I will just never get this one right.
It is a tough one. Yoshi Tsutsugo.
Tsutsugo. Say that 30 times fast. I'll try it. I'll still forget it. All right. So what is the key statistical breakdown of him why you want him in your lineups today? He's only 2,100. I mean, that's really it. Beginning and end of story. There is nothing he's done this season that's impressive. Merrill Kelly is a very mediocre pitcher, so the matchup's fine. I wouldn't call it great. It's fine. He's duly eligible for a couple positions. He plays for a really good team. But most importantly, he's 2,100. I like him in any format simply for the roster construction. When you're this cheap, an RBI double for 7 points, it's fine. It works for you because you are legit allowing yourself to get the Acuñas, Vlad Guerreros, or whoever expensive hitters that is that you want.
Yeah, the other thing is, I mentioned this on the members only video. Doesn't matter too much, but he's been hitting in the middle of the Dodgers lineup. This guy was a big signee coming over from Japan for Tampa a couple years ago. Never panned out from the Rays, wasn't very good. But the Dodgers, who have a bunch of good hitters on their team, see something in him to bat him in the middle of their lineup. So as smart as I think I am, I think the Dodgers know a little bit more than me. So I'm willing to take them on this.
I was legit having a conversation with somebody last night, and he was a big sports fan like me and you and most of you people listening to it. And we were talking, oh man, how'd the conversation go? But essentially I had to say that you start thinking you're too smart when you watch a lot of sports and you play fantasy sports and DFS. And every once in a while I have to remind myself that, there's some real idiots out there who get spots on teams that they shouldn't. but 99.9% of GMs, coaches, players know a lot more than you do. So maybe I should just sit back on my couch and shut the hell up and let them do their thing.
Yeah, amen.
All right, last up, Pablo. Eduardo. Alcides Escobar. We're talking about the Arizona Diamondbacks today. You're looking for a really low-owned stack. Check out Eduardo Escobar with his 10 bombs this year, as Arizona has to be happy as hell to get away from high-end pitchers.
Yeah, right. They've just faced Bueller, Kershaw, and Urias. Now they get Jimmy Nelson in the Dodgers bullpen. Breath of fresh air spot for Arizona. They're priced up enough where I don't think they get much love at all. And I'm interested in them as a stack. Like I said, this is a get-right spot for them after they face really tough pitching. Escobar homered off Kershaw yesterday, seeing the ball well. He's got big power upside. And again, not going to be owned at all. I like this stack in tournaments.
So for my favorite point for a stack like this is, remember, it's a 4-game slate, which means that Arizona only has to beat out 7 other teams to be the top stack. It's not a 14-game slate where you have to beat out everybody. And then I'd be like, I don't know. I feel like maybe we're getting a little bit desperate, but we got the wind blowing in Toronto. You got the Braves getting way too much love than they should. And the kid from Pittsburgh hasn't been that bad this year. There's no reason that the Braves have to go off today. You're just trying to find a team that maybe has a little extra giddy up, a team that's really, really happy not to be facing a legit ace. And that could be Arizona today at like no ownership.
No ownership. So that's all it is. Again, they're not the most likely team to go off, but in baseball, we oftentimes see, the not most likely team go off, lead the slate. And geez, these dogs, wow.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.